Hey there AOS fans, you've got Pete again for another little magnetisation video. Robin's off somewhere abroad sunning himself. I should probably know where he is, but no, not a clue. And this is a follow-up video from my previous magnetisation vid that I did for Shadow War Armageddon terrain. Near the end of that video I decided to do a little bit of magnetisation on the pipes that you can get in one of the GW sets. Now it's not strictly SWA related, but it does actually have some very nice tie-in pieces. You can see this piece here has a very similar round section here that fits very well with these sections here. Now it's obviously completely intentional by GW. And one thing I like to do where I can is I like to magnetise my stuff, because then it means I can keep it fairly solid on the board, but also I don't have to worry too much about how it's going to go in the box. I can throw it in the box and next time I come around I can stick stuff together again. Now, when I was doing the pipe video, I put 4 magnets on, and I did talk in that video about how I couldn't work out a way to get the pieces to universally fit together. And I thought about it for a little while, maybe even tens of minutes even, then something shiny happened and I got completely distracted and fell off my radar. But somebody recently mentioned to me on one of the other, maybe on the video itself, or maybe it was in a Facebook post I was reading and chatting on or something like that, and it dawned on me that the easiest way to do this would be to just use 2 magnets rather than 4. So gave it a quick experiment, and I've come up with a new system which has just 2 magnets. So in the old system, I can show you here, I had 4 magnets, and you can see there north, south, east and west effectively, or 12, 3, 6 and 9 depending on how you want to reference it. And that worked great for the fact that all of these were south facing. Problem with that is you then get one that has all north facing and they'll fit together fine, but you can't then fit this to a south facing one, because obviously opposites do not attract regardless of what the songs tell you. Now if I replace that with a new system, which is on this one here, I've only got 2 magnets. I've got one in the 3 position and one in the 9 position here. Now one of these is effectively north facing and one is south. I cannot remember which in this video, so I'm going to be using this as a template for the rest of mine, but I'm also going to explain to you and try and show you at the same time how you can do this without really having to worry too much where you start, as long as you keep the same process throughout. So of course I'm going to run through the things you need as a true Blue Peter presenter should. You also need some super glue. Again, I've got a fairly unbranded version here. Whatever you get, make sure you get a gel version. The water versions aren't, well, the liquid versions aren't going to help you in this case. You need some terrain. I'm going to be using these round ones because these fit perfectly together. You need a drill and drill bit. I've got this off Amazon. Drill bit's a 2mm. I'll be using for 2mm magnets. This is all fairly cheap off Amazon for about £5 to £10, and an X-Acto, again you can get these off Amazon for maybe £5, not very expensive at all. And of course, last but not least, most important thing, gonna need some magnets. Now these again I've got off Amazon, and you can get these 50 of them for a £5, something like that. That'll be about $10 I guess US, depending on where you can get them from, the postage costs. And you want to make sure that the drill bit you get obviously fits on here perfectly. And that's pretty much it. Once you've got those pieces, you are ready to rock and roll. So first thing we're going to do, just going to clean off a few bits out of the way here so I don't knock everything flying. I'm going to start by drilling a hole in the other end of this. Now I've cheated on this a little bit. I've cheated because if you look where I've stuck this, the hinge is slightly off centered. Normally the hinge should be in the 9 o'clock position, but I've stuck this so all of the dots around the edge are actually in clock, or sort of clock face, the 12, 3, 6 and 9 position. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start by drilling out this one here in the 3 o'clock position. Do this like you do in the other post. You want to find your spot, and you don't want to drill too deep, just a millimetre or so, which is the depth of the magnets, 1mm magnets, 2 by 1, and you want to drill out a little bit of a hole there. So there we go, we've got a hole here. Now, if you're starting from scratch, you don't need to worry about which orientation you're going to stick this in. You can just take a magnet, take some glue, put it in the hole, jam it in there. Because I've already started this process off, I want to make sure that I get this to match the others. So what I'm going to do, a bit like in my other videos, I'm going to take one of these that I've already drilled. I'm going to stick a magnet here. I'm going to take this here and stick a magnet on there. So that is going to match up when I piece these two together, like so. So I'm just going to stick a little blob of super glue in there. Don't want too much, you don't want to get too messy. And I'm going to get these in the right orientation. So I'm going to get both of these like this. I'm just going to try and press these together as best I can. I'll turn this around so you can see a bit closer as well. It's actually a bit easier for me to see on the camera. Put those together, press them together, and remember, once you've got them in the right place, you want to slide it off sideways, and then that way the magnet stays in there. So just wipe that off a bit. Now you can see both of my magnets are in the relevant 9 and 3 positions, and those are opposite polarities, so they will now stick together. Remember, if you want to test them when you put them together, make sure that you then shear them off rather than pull them directly away from each other, because that will pull the magnet straight back out again. What you want to do after that is you want to drill your second hole in the other side. So I'm just going to drill that one now in here in the 9 o'clock position. Again, if you don't have the holes as guidelines, you might want to create a little burr hole, a little small guide hole to start with a X-Acto blade. Don't want to go too shallow, you don't want the magnet to sit too proud of the surface, but you don't want the magnet to disappear inside it, or else it's never going to stick. So there we go, there is the hole. And what we need to do now, this is the fiddliest part, of the entire process. So what we need to do is we need to get a magnet. Getting the magnet isn't the fiddliest part of the process, believe me. And you want to stick that magnet onto the magnet you've already stuck on. Now these are both facing the same way. What you need to do is, if you imagine this side being completely coloured in red, or any other colour that you might like, you need to take this magnet off and you need to flip it over 180 degrees, so the red side that's facing you right now is facing away from you when you stick it in this hole here. This is not the easiest task in the world. Magnet's quite small. If you've got some kind of non-magnetic tweezers, that would definitely help out in this situation. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to slide this off with my finger. So see what I mean? See, you can't hold it too close. So I'm going to slide it off. Now, currently the red side is still facing you. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to turn this over. I'm going to stick that into this hole. Stick it in here. You can't quite see it. But now, if you can still imagine that before, stick another one to try and highlight this. So if you imagine that when that magnet was stuck on there before, if this side of the magnet was coloured in red, you now wouldn't see any red on this side, because the magnet has been flipped to face 180 degrees in the other direction. That's the key part of this process. So now what you've got at the end of that, after probably a lot of inventive swearing like I had the first time trying to hold these magnets and change them over, is you've now got a magnet facing in the north position or the south position, I'm not really 100% sure, and then one sitting completely the polar opposite position. Excellent, that's the first step, probably the hardest step out of the way. So now what we need to do is we're going to put this to one side and we're going to get another piece to drill some holes in. So now I'm going to drill them in this one here. So again, I'm going to take my piece here, and I know that because I've lined these dots up, I could drill into the third and, well, the 3 o'clock and the 9 o'clock position. So I'm going to do that now. You always have to be really careful when doing this, because you don't want to drill too deep, you don't want to drill too shallow, and you also want to be careful around the edge, because the edges and the amount of space you've got to play with on this, especially with a 2mm magnet, is very little. So what you need to do is just take it very, very slowly. Now it doesn't matter if these magnets sit a bit proud unless you're a real perfectionist because if they sit a little bit proud, it just means the magnets are going to have a good contact with the other magnets. It means there might be a slight gap in your tubes, in your pipes, or whatever else you connect them to. Personally, I'd rather have that and a solid connection than a complete, absolute airtight connection. If you can get both, then put in the comments how you managed to do that, because frankly, I'm not really sure. I'm guessing you could get some kind of device to put on the end here, or you could measure this so that the drill was only 1 mil deep. You could, I guess, you could set this right down inside the drill bit head itself, and so that you would only drill so far into things. But I don't care that much about that, I'll be honest. I want to get the magnets in there, and I want them to sit in there, and I want them to have a good connection. So this is pretty much good enough for me. There are much more exact people out there, much more expertly able to do this, but they haven't done a video, so I win. Right, so I get my my original piece back, so I get some new magnets, and I'm going to grab one off, and I'm going to put it on there. I'm going to grab one off, and I'm going to put it on there as well. Now, if you have watched my previous video, you'll know this is pretty much how I did all of the magnet matching up. If you haven't watched it, then I would suggest you go and watch it, or else you might not be really 100% sure what I'm going on about in this video. So I would recommend watching that, and I will stick a link below. Anyway, so now we put our magnets on here. We need to take this piece, and we need to put some super glue in it. You don't need too much, just a tiny little dot. There we go. And then what we're going to do, you need to make sure you have them in the right orientation. So both of them are, these are the ground pieces, so these are the bottoms. And this is the way they're going to stick together, if you imagine, as we sandwich them. So we're going to put these two together. Turn it this way so you can see a little better. I'm going to line these up. I'm going to close them together so the magnets go in the holes, and then again I'm going to shear them off. And that way the magnets now sit in the holes. And again, if we can imagine that this is the north side and this is the south facing magnet, and now this is the north side and this is the south facing magnet again. So as you look at them, they both have north-south and then north-south, but as you turn to face each other, they will stick together. And remember, if you're testing your magnets out to make sure you've got them the right way whilst they've just been glued, make sure you pull them off in a shearing motion at the end, so as to not pull the magnets out before the glue has dried. Now, these two are ones I've just done to show you in true Blue Peter fashion. Here are some I did earlier. So again, this one has the north and south facing and north and south facing, and this is the other end of the same pipe where I'd done these earlier, and these should just fit together like so. And as you can see, they are strong enough that I'm holding this at 90 degrees, and whilst it wobbles back and forth a bit on the tabletop, that's not going to make any difference at all, and that holds pretty nicely. If I put this here, you can see that it's got a pretty good amount of grip on it. And to tie this back in with the SWA, here's an SWA piece, nice little vent stack of some kind, and on the bottom here is another one of these pieces. And I've again drilled the two holes, line pieces up, get my magnets, stick them together, and it sticks nice and snug. And now this piece sticks to here absolutely fine. Take my new piece, and these two pieces should be exactly the same, and they stick together nicely. I'm going to take those off in a shearing motion still. And this one, this is the end, this is the previous one that I did, so that one that one sticks on nicely. Now that's quite a large piece of plastic to hold on with just one tiny 2mm magnet, so that wouldn't stick, but it should, if I put it on the table, still holds together pretty nicely, and it's not going to just fall apart if it's knocked. And if I turn this around, this is the other end that I've done, I can stick it on there, and that sits very nicely and snug too. And as you can see, most of these pieces, once they're painted up, you're really not going to notice those gaps at all. So that bit goes on there, this piece sticks on there quite nicely, see that bit there. I can take that piece off, stick that piece on there, that all sticks on really nice. So that is pretty much the whole thing in a nutshell. The main thing you've got to remember when you're doing this is you want one side to be a north facing, one side to be a south facing. If you start with the simple step of putting one in on one side, drill your second hole. The key thing is to remember, if one magnet is facing this way and you put another one on top of it, is you need to turn that magnet over when you stick it into the other side. So this magnet here has one stuck on top, which is then taken off and turned over and put on the other side. Once you have those two in place, those are your template magnets, and you can pretty much do the rest by just putting a magnet in each side, drilling your new holes, bit of glue in each, sandwich them together and shear them off. And that is it. That is how you can magnetize all of your pipes and your Shadow War Armageddon scenery. So hopefully you enjoyed this. If you did, please do give us a thumbs up, and do like and follow us. The channel's been a bit quiet of late, but we are planning to do lots and lots of new stuff very soon. We've got a few more videos in the works, and happy wargaming!